You know, when you think about karate, you probably picture breaking boards, powerful kicks, maybe some intense sparring. But what if I told you the real secret of karate isn't about fighting at all? What if its deepest philosophy is wrapped up in this really ancient and, let's be honest, kind of mysterious image? A serpent eating its own tail. Let's dive into that.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like a weird connection, right? A mythical snake and a martial art. But stick with me, because this symbol, this image, it's like the key that unlocks karate's greatest secret, that it's not just a collection of techniques. It's a complete, self-contained system for perfecting yourself.
So, first things first, what is this thing, the Ouroboros? Well, it's an ancient symbol that pops up in cultures all over the world, and it always represents this idea of a perfectly closed system. It has no beginning, and it has no end. It fuels itself. It literally renews its own life by consuming its own body. So remember that idea, a self-contained, self-renewing cycle.
And that brings us to the core idea here. Karate is an Ouroboros. It's a self-contained world where the real goal isn't to get a black belt or win a tournament. No, the real goal is the endless process of refinement. The journey, the practice, the cycle itself, that's the destination. Just like the serpent, you are constantly consuming your own weaknesses to be reborn stronger.
So you might be wondering, how did karate end up with such a unique, inward-looking philosophy? Well, it wasn't some happy accident. It was forged in the fires of history, in a very specific place and time, that created the perfect storm for a self-contained art to be born.
Our story starts way back in what is now Okinawa. Imagine this, not once, but twice the ruling powers completely banned weapons. First in the 15th century, then again in the 17th. This left the Okinawans totally defenseless, stripped of any swords, spears, anything. It created this intense pressure cooker situation, forcing their martial traditions to turn completely inward just to survive.
And what happens under that kind of pressure? Innovation. They had to completely re-engineer the human body to be the weapon. The edge of the hand became a sword. The fingertips became a spear. See, when all external tools are taken away, your internal tools, your own body, have to be maximized to an incredible degree. The system had to become totally self-reliant, a closed loop, just like our friend, the Ouroboros.
Okay, so inside this closed system, there's this fundamental tension, this constant push and pull that keeps the whole thing alive and balanced. It's a beautiful dialogue between absolute, static perfection and total, dynamic chaos.
On one side of the coin, you've got kata. Think of kata as the encyclopedia of karate. It's the art's source code, its DNA. These are these perfect, prearranged sequences of movements that contain and preserve all the core principles, all the techniques passed down for generations. They are the unchanging foundation.
And then, on the other side, you've got kumite, which is sparring. And kumite is the total opposite. It's a messy, chaotic laboratory. It's where all those perfect theories from the kata encyclopedia get stress-tested against the one thing you can never predict, another human being who's trying to hit you.
And this brings us to a really crucial saying in karate. You see, you need both. Kata gives you the knowledge, the structure. Kumite gives you the real-world application, the understanding. One without the other is totally incomplete. It's this fusion of the two that makes karate a living, breathing art, and not just a museum piece.
So, if that's the system, how does a person actually move through it? Well, there's a really elegant three-stage learning process that works like an engine, driving you from being a clumsy beginner all the way to an intuitive master.
This cycle is called shu-ha-ri. First is shu, which means to obey. You copy your teacher's movements perfectly. You don't ask why, you just do it, building a rock-solid foundation. Then comes ha, to break. Now you start to question things. You understand the principles behind the moves, and you start adapting them to your own body. And finally, you reach ri, to transcend. At this stage, you forget the form entirely because it's become a part of you. You just move. The principles are so deeply ingrained, it's all intuition.
And this, right here? This is the Ouroboros in action. The student consumes the rigid rules of shu, digests them and breaks them down in ha, and then is reborn with a fluid, intuitive understanding in ri. It's a cycle that repeats over and over, each time on a higher and higher level of mastery.
So what fuels this engine? What gives it its power? Paradox. The real genius of karate is that it embraces ideas that seem like total opposites, and that it forces them to work together in harmony. The biggest paradox is go versus ju, or hard versus soft. Go is what you probably think of. It's unyielding, linear, destructive force. Think of a powerful, straight punch. Ju is the complete opposite. It's yielding, it's circular. It's about redirecting your opponent's energy instead of meeting it head-on. But here's the secret. It's not about choosing one or the other. True, devastating power is born in the fusion of both. It's the ability to oscillate, to go from a state of being completely relaxed, like a wet noodle, to explosively hard at the very instant of impact, and then be relaxed again. That instantaneous vibration between states is where incredible power comes from.
Now, this embrace of paradox leads to what is maybe the most famous and most misunderstood principle in karate: karate ni sentenashi. There is no first attack in karate. Now, at first, that sounds really passive, right? Like you have to stand there and wait to get hit. But the real meaning is way more profound and actually more proactive.
You see, the deeper meaning is that the attack doesn't start with a punch or a kick. The attack begins with the opponent's intent to cause harm. So if you can perceive that intention, that aggression, then your physical strike isn't really the first attack at all. It's a defensive response to the attack that has already begun in their mind. It completely flips the script on what offense and defense even mean.
So when we weave all these threads together, the history that forced it to turn inward, the tension between the perfect form and the chaotic fight, that engine of mastery, and the power of paradox, we come full circle. We complete the loop, and we arrive right back where we started, with our central image. Because what the Ouroboros ultimately teaches us is that in karate, you never really make it. There's no final destination called mastery where you can just stop. The whole point, the entire purpose of the art, is the endless recursive cycle of self-improvement. The process of perfecting that one punch becomes infinitely more important than the punch itself.
And that brings us to one last, really crucial question. In this closed loop of constant self-refinement, in this system where the journey is everything, who is the real opponent? It's not the person standing in front of you. The true opponent is always and only yourself. It's the part of you from yesterday that has not yet been perfected.